The Neutral.
What up, everybody? And we are back for episode 2 for season 2 of The Neutral. Last week we had one of the more traditional styles of the show, right? We talked with Wireman about, his FGC background and, just stuff that was a topic. Nothing that was super topical. This week, it's a little different. We're going back to that format we tried towards the end of 2019, where we're going to have Smash writer Alex Lee on the show. We're going to be talking about sort of sponsorships and money in Smash and the FGC. We've been talking about this for a while. This episode was supposed to happen, months ago when money in Smash became a big topic again. This happens, almost on a cycle, right? I think it was in reference to a finish at one of the Smash majors where, Smash Twitter was up in a tizzy about, all these cash payouts and how, was it worth it? Was it not worth it? Should we be paying pros more? But, so let's, no more BSing. Let's get Alex Lee on. So let's hit that handy-dandy 2-player screen button. And, oh, hey, look, there's an Alex Lee.
Hey.
How are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's interesting that we're going to be talking about money and sponsorships and disparity on Martin Luther King Day. Very fitting for our two respective scenes because, I'm more of an FGC person. You're definitely more informed about the Smash side of eSports. So, this should be a pretty interesting conversation. So, every now and then, and I feel like it happens way more in Smash because it's a little bit more poverty in a way comparatively to, Street Fighter, which has the Capcom Pro Tour. The Tekken Pro Tour, the Tekken World Tour has gotten a lot better in the past 2 years. Hey, even Soul Calibur has a tour. And yet, we look over at the other side of the FGC pond at Smash, and, you guys compete for, $100.
Yeah.
So, the thing that's interesting to me is I tried to do a lot more Smash content at EVO this past year. I spoke to people like Esam, I spoke to Vicky Kitty, I spoke to TK Breezy, and they all kind of have a similar opinion. One, that Smash doesn't need a tour, and two, that none of the pros, per se, are in Smash for the money. Now, you're already shaking your head. Alex, what is your opinion on this?
Sorry, they told you that the pros aren't in it for money? I mean, don't get me wrong. There is some level of passion inherent to being a competitor in Smash. Because you have to imagine that some of these guys are god gamers. They could get into League of Legends or, I don't know, Overwatch if they want to make big money. So you're right that the simple choice of Smash does involve some passion and some prioritizing of passion over economics, but I mean, leave it to what you said. You spoke to Vicky. I mean, leave it to a bunch of actually decently successful commentators to claim that players are not in it for the money. That's ridiculous. Every player I've spoken to, I mean, they love the game, but money, just like how to pay the bills, is constantly at the top of their consciousness. So, it
wasn't just the cat, this was the thing that shocked me. So, granted, the upper echelon of pros, and, people can argue that, the cat's not good anymore or whatever, but, when it comes to most of the fighting games I cover, none of them, money never really comes up, right? When I talk to someone like Bonchan, who won EVO this year, money is never a thing that really comes up when we talk. And I know that part of that is, Bonchan has a really good sponsor in Red Bull. Same thing with Daigo, Cygames Beast. Cygames has a lot of money, so even if Daigo wasn't a strong competitor, he's got, his money right. But, it seems interesting that these, like, big competitors, right? They say that money is not the problem, right? Like, MVD, everyone I've spoken to, and maybe I'm talking to the wrong Smash Pros that, the payouts isn't an issue. Maybe I'm, at fault here, but where does the disparity come in from? Like, why is it that when I talk to these top smashers, with the exception of like Leffen and some off the record conversations I've had with one or two other top tier pros, and since they were off the record, I don't want to put them on blast on the podcast. You see this like big disparity of like there's one side of the pro community that's like I'm good at this game. I just want to show other people I'm good at this game. Versus, the other people who are saying, no, like, we need to get paid. We can't be going to these tournaments to make $300. Also, real quick, chat, can you hear us? Because, like, my level bar isn't moving for when you talk. Say something?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, no, it's working. It's fine. All right, cool.
All right, so I think I have an answer for this question, and I think it's important in order to answer this question, I think it's important to first just like line up how Smash Pros, and I assume also FGC Pros, but I'm really coming from a Smash background.
Yeah.
I want to line up how they make their money, because I think that when you ask pros about their financial situation, whether they're comfortable with the amount of income they're making, there is sometimes some confusion about like the question of prize money and the question of the money that pros are getting. I think, if you were a pro Smash player and you didn't have a stream, you didn't have a sponsor, you didn't give lessons, you had no other income streams, you would not be able to make a living just from tournament winnings. Even if you were winning first place at every major, you would not really be able to pay the bills, especially when you factor in the cost of housing and flying to each of these events. So, I think there are a lot of opportunities for Smash Pros to make money more broadly. Streaming is one obvious way that, especially like the top level guys, can make a ton of money. We know that Mango and Zero are probably the most prominent examples, but even players like Leffen have enough subscribers that they can live decently off of just their Twitch subscription income. And then on top of that, there's also salaries from sponsors. There's just donations from viewers. A lot of players, like I was talking to DeBuzz for an article I wrote last year that kind of like inspired my interest in this subject. And DeBuzz gives private lessons pretty consistently to make money. So I think with all of those income streams together, it is possible to cobble together a pretty solid living if you're like a top tier Smash Pro. But that is not the same as the question of prize money. Prize money in Smash is terrible because there's little, if any, support from Nintendo. I think almost no monetary support. So the prize money exclusively comes from, maybe a few sponsorships, but primarily just the money put into the prize pool by the entrants. And that is just never going to be enough for someone to survive. So, I don't know. To me, when you ask that question of pros, they'll be like, "Hey, no, I'm doing fine," because there are these other ways for pros to make money, but the reality is like that money still comes from their performance at tournaments. The way that these pros initially they build their brand and become famous enough to use their platform to make money in other ways like Twitch is through doing well at these tournaments, performing well, making a good showing, maybe getting a few sick clips and getting increasing their following that way. But like, when a player goes to a tournament, they are competing in order to add value to themselves no matter what. So like, there's also like that double consideration of the prize money that they're making, but also like the tournament just as a place where a player can build his or her personal brand in order to increase these revenue streams in other ways. That was kind of a meandering answer, but that gives some context.
No, it does give a lot of context. So I think the thing that I'm sort of zeroing in here, no pun intended, is that when you talk to these top level pros, their revenue streams are fine. Most of the top tier pros in Smash right now are sponsored. A fairly decent number of them are sponsored by not just Smash orgs per se,
Right.
but these sort of bigger esports orgs. You've got TSM, Cloud9, G2. All of these big name orgs from the rest of the esports ecosystem. They may not descend onto the FGC abroad, but they've zeroed in on the popularity of Smash. Now, we do know, though, even though we were talking about the fact that the FGC, that Smash, right now specifically, that these players have decent revenue streams, but, sometimes we hear about these Smash pros that their teams seem to not want to see them at events. I'm always seeing some Smash pros say, hey guys, you gotta help fundraise me to go to XYZ event. And we're not talking about like tier 2 pros. We're not talking about top 50 Smash pros. Sometimes we're talking about like top 10 on the PG stats board pros being like, hey guys, I'm not gonna be at, Big House because I'm out of travel budget for the year, and lol.
Yeah, well, I think that this kind of goes into the way that the differences between the ways that Smash Bros are treated by these organizations as opposed to players on, for example, like a Counter-Strike team, or just part of the players who are involved in a quote-unquote tier 1 esport.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference. If you're on League of Legends team, for example, you have a salary with benefits. You're a full-time worker, whereas Smash players, I think, just across all top organizations. I don't know the details of like Mango's contract. Someone like him has probably a rock solid deal with C9, but even someone like DeBuzz, who is a member of Team Liquid, obviously like a huge, highly valued organization, is still an independent contractor. He's not fully employed by the organization, which means there's no benefits, a lot less monetary support, and of the money he gets, he has to pay a huge chunk in taxes. So, I mean, I think that, you can get kind of carried away or distracted by this big name, but the reality is, like, even the big name organizations are not giving Smash players that much, and that's kind of because it's becoming clear that, for better or worse, the way that these, the esports ecosystem is set up right now, Smash players don't really that much obvious value to a roster. Like, I feel like a lot of the teams have Smash players now because, I don't know, I feel like this might be a bit of a hot take, but it's like a prestige thing. I mean, it's, people know Smash, everyone knows and loves Smash. Well, most people love Smash. Everyone knows it, certainly. But, yeah, so I think, people pick up Smash players because they are recognizable and they can be familiar faces. But, like, what are they really selling? CRTs and GameCube controllers? Like, no, seriously.
Well, I mean, especially for Melee, right? Like, Jacob Wolf says this a lot whenever Smash comes up on ESPN, is that, one of the reasons that Nintendo doesn't back Melee is because no one's buying GameCubes from Best Buy anymore, right? They're buying them secondhand. Nobody's buying, Melee, hot off the press, right? Like, it's an out-of-print game. So, again, you're buying that secondhand. Nobody, I think, even people who, like, nobody makes a CRT. You usually either find it on the side of the road, or, like, a friend is like, yo, I'm getting rid of a CRT, and you're a Smash player, and you're like, oh, shit, I need to go pick that up right now.
That was my story in college. Yeah, the CRT that I had my senior year was passed down year after year as people graduated.
Yeah.
It's probably still there, in some freshman's dorm right now.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like, one of the detriments for the Melee community is the fact that, like, who can you make? You can't really make a whole ton of non-endemic sponsors, right? Something like Overwatch League, they can get State Farm involved or something. But, like, Melee is not super visually attractive. Let's be real. It's a beautiful game to watch if you like the intricacies of the game. But if you were being, straight up with yourself, it is not the most graphically pleasing game out there, especially in esports.
I will say this. I think something that Melee, or that Smash more broadly, and the FGC have in common that I think is an advantage for them is that they are both. I think they're some of the easiest esports for like total lay people to understand. You know, like if you're like a boomer who's coming to esports and like you're tuning into a League of Legends match, that shit doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's completely like, and it's just exacerbated by like the shoutcasters popping off over stuff that makes no sense to you. But I feel like if you log in and you're watching like a Street Fighter competition, like you immediately know what's going on. Even if you don't know how, if you can't appreciate how hard what they're doing is, you certainly get what's happening. I mean, it's like martial arts, it's fighting.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that, and I think like that is why fighting games and Smash like have some hope in terms of like the esports industry. I think like if esports continues to grow, then there's maybe a bigger like potential audience to be captured by Smash and FGC. But yeah, right now it's kind of it's excuse me, it's kind of poverty mode. You know, I mean, I understand why organizations don't allocate that much budget for.
Now, I don't want to dig on Smash too hard, and I definitely don't want to hover on this, but I will say that like Smash. So I will agree that like Street Fighter, Tekken, those games, they have a pretty easy interface for new people to watch. Smash can be a little complicated because you guys don't have a traditional life bar. So what Smash super relies on is the fact that like everyone, air quotes, has played Smash. The same way we say everyone's played CSGO and everyone's played StarCraft, right? Like those 3 games and Street Fighter, right? So those are like the 4 games that everybody's played. Call of Duty also, especially stateside, not necessarily abroad, are those games that quote unquote everyone's played. I never played CSGO and I never played StarCraft, but I knew tons of people who didn't consider themselves gamers, but they did play StarCraft or CSGO. So those people understand what they see when they're watching Smash, because they're like, oh yeah, I understand this percentage thing. But if like you have never watched a fighting game before and you tuned into ESPN on an Evo Sunday and Smash was on and you see one person get killed but has like 40%, but then somebody else is sitting on the stage with like 237%. Oh, 237.8% health. You might be a little bit confused. So
all right. I don't want. Look, I'm not. We'll schedule another episode for the Smash versus FGC debate. I definitely agree. I mean, I think that's clear. Especially, I think Street Fighter is almost an unfair example because of how clear it is. I think you take something like Mortal Kombat and show it to like a civilian.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying that all of the traditional FGC games are clearer than Smash, but I will. You left the door open for my troll the Smash community ass to like creep in, and I was like, all right, it's my show. I can say whatever I want about Smash right now. But all right, so like you talked about this prize pool thing, which is something that I think across the board is an issue in fighting games. Whether you're a Smasher, I think Street Fighter, right, is like the only game that gets to like eat like kings, right? Like we have a pretty healthy, robust prize pool system, and that's partially because like Capcom 100% kind of gets that like you can't call something a pro tour, but then like pay people $50. Versus, Tekken, which is getting better. Thank you, Harada-san. We appreciate you so much. But like across the board in most of the FGC, prize pools are kind of trash, right? Like there's that big conversation a few years back in Tekken where, the winner of the Tekken World Tour only made I believe 1,000. And he was like, I might have to, I'm going to quit. I can't travel across the world to win 400 here, 500 here, and then be the best Tekken player in the world and make less money than somebody who didn't make top 8 at the Capcom Cup.
Okay.
And then when you look at Smash and your prize payouts are like $100 for first place for like a major?
Well, okay, that's an exaggeration. It's probably going to be like between 1,000 and 3,000, but still. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, like, first of all, like, one of the things I've noted about Smash is that, and this is sort of true in a couple of the FGCs in general, is that you're to make the tournament appetizing. What a lot of these tournaments do is they do a very top heavy prize pool. So you're looking at like first and second clearing house, but then like third, they're eating the blue plate special.
There was actually a really controversial event earlier last year called Thunder Smash One.
Oh man, I've never heard of this event. Doesn't ring a bell whatsoever.
Well, then you might remember the controversy about how they advertised it as if it was going to be like a $15,000 winner takes all prize pool. First place gets $15,000. No one else gets anything, and that actually there was such a blowback to that I think they actually changed the pay structure. But it kind of epitomizes exactly what you're describing in a hilarious way. But can I say something in response? I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And I wasn't. So like, I'll say so. Audience and Alex, I say the same thing about Tekken events. I'll be like, oh man, first place at a Tekken event got like $100. It's actually probably like $1,800 somewhere around there. Yeah. But like comparatively to like League, Dota, CS:GO, or even Street Fighter, a lot of these first place prize payouts might be good enough for the first place guy, second place guy, third place guy, and then like if there's a third place guy, like I've seen some Smash events be like first and second, or first through fourth, and it's like, all right, what about the other half of top 8?
Well, that I will say, like, if it pays out only like top 3 or top 4, that's probably just like a local or a regional event. Majors will always pay out top 8, sometimes top 16. Always. I think that's got to be standard. But I think I don't know. I mean, the problem is when we compare the amount of money in Smash and like non-Street Fighter fighting games to the amount of money in League of Legends, Dota, or even Street Fighter. Because just like I don't know. I mean, and this is more of a Smash thing, but the reality is Nintendo is just never going to pump money into the competitive scene the way that Capcom does, or the way that Valve does, or especially not the way that Riot does.
Mm-hmm.
Or Activision, any of these big companies, Nintendo's not going to do it. And I mean, this has the reasons why have been covered ad nauseum.
Yeah.
There are like, I feel like Kotaku publishes like 2 pieces a year on it. They just like keep churning it. But it's basically just because, one, there's already this extremely successful, or relatively at least extremely successful grassroots tournament system that doesn't need outside funding to exist. And secondly, like Nintendo perceives itself as, the casual gaming corporation. So it's just part of their ethos. So I think the problem is we look at numbers that are just never going to happen. Categorically, they're never going to be $100,000 player salaries for Smash. Nintendo has the money that they could write off millions upon millions of dollars and just consider it marketing for Smash, but it's just not going to happen. I think the issue is that we expect that money to come from on high, whether it's from like a corporation like Nintendo or from venture capitalists who are funding, Thunder Gaming, or whatever I buy power, like whatever hot new organization is offering big prize pools. Like, I just don't think that there's ever going to be really a sustainable path for like Smash to get its prize pools from on high like that, unless I win the lottery. If I personally win the lottery, then I will make Smash happen. You have my word on the internet. But like, besides me, there's no like super rich power that's going to do this. So instead, I think we should look at what value is being created in reality. Because again, we said that Smash players don't really create like that much value for the sponsors. The value that they create is something that is being entertainers. It's entertainment that's like really valuable to us. Well, to me and my Smash watching comrades, the viewers. So this is why I think that crowdfunding is the future. I think that tournaments should turn towards like maximizing the entertainment experience for the average watcher and creating like increased incentives for people to donate to the prize pool or directly to players or events or something. But get something in response that kind of like plays on the fact that the real value that's being created is the gameplay itself. I mean, I don't know. Streamers already do this, obviously. I just think it's something that events should lean in on.
Yeah, and it's super weird.
Get money elsewhere.
It's super weird. So Smash, your DLC is free, right? Like when a new character comes out, it doesn't cost you guys money.
No. It's $5.99.
Okay. So it's like a lot of other fighting games. Okay, so this exposes how much of a Smash fraud that I am. That I don't even know how your DLC works. But in all seriousness, so what I've always found interesting, and like, so I'm not gonna harp like no matter what Nintendo said at an E3 a few years ago, where they were gonna be super involved in esports, and they showed some Pokken footage and some ARMS footage and some Smash Wii U footage. They're like, we're gonna jump straight into esports, and then they did like ARMS tournament. We won't talk about that. Like that, scratch it off the record.
Trust me, dude. I watched the Super Smash Bros. Invitational, where they had those fucking robes for the winners.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that and I was like, this is the beginning of a new age. And then nothing happened after that.
Yeah,
I remember it.
So we'll pretend that didn't happen because it effectively didn't. But what I think is super interesting is that when everybody talks about how much money Dota does for the Invitational, what people forget is that like 80% of that is crowdfunded, right?
Yep.
And I'm not super familiar with Dota, but you buy something in the game, and like that money goes to the prize pool. Well, it's segmented. Some of it goes to
like that. Yeah.
And League has started to implement that. Capcom has been doing that for a while for the Pro Tour, where certain DLC that you buy, like the tournament stage and all of that, adds some amount to the Capcom Cup's prize pool. Because I think the base prize pool is like $200K, and then the rest is like digital sales. So like, even though in the past couple of years the overall prize pool has come out to like 3 something. That's like that 3 something is like from digital sales. And so I've always wondered about this, especially for Smash, is like what, like you brought it up yourself, is like how do you sort of kickstart a better version of your prize structure? Maybe it's raising some tournament fees. I know that I've seen like a bunch of different arguments. As I said at the beginning of the show, this episode was inspired by sort of a Twitter storm that started, 4 or 5 months ago of people being
Big House 9, by the way.
Yeah.
You were exactly right about what happened. But the event was Big House 9.
Yeah. So after Big House 9, everybody was talking about, these payouts are not great. What do we do to fix it? Do we raise entry fee? Do we add, do we do entry fee plus venue fee? Do we need, a better, I'm going to use what we use in the FGC. I don't know if you guys use it too. Do we need better Matcherino? Well, like, what do we need to do? And everybody threw out words into the void. And because you guys don't seem to, like, I know that there's like a unified Smash Tio body.
Sort of, yeah.
But it's not like a governing body. And this is
make suggestions, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is where like the not having a tour, in my opinion, like an official pro tour, really hurts you guys. Is that there doesn't seem to be a way to sort of say we need to set our events at this kind of price point for the health of the game. We need to do these type of things across the board for the health of the game, because your prize pools, like I'm looking at Genesis right now, and the Genesis singles prize pool for Ultimate is $16,800, which isn't bad.
It's not bad, but think about that as that is the biggest prize pool of the year, probably.
Yes.
I mean, Smash Summit might get bigger depending on how much crowdfunding happens, but that's different. I mean, that's an invitational. It's not an open major like Genesis.
But and the thing is not, and I know that not every tournament in the FGC pays out past top 8, but to go to an event like Genesis, which is like a premiere, according to Liquipedia, it's not just a major, it's a premiere.
Yeah,
it
is the top tier event in Smash. Maybe Evo, but otherwise it's Genesis. Yeah,
and then it not pay out past top 8 is not super great.
Let me send you. Do we have the ability to like play Twitch clips?
No, I'm not that fancy.
Okay, all right. I'll just describe this then because this is
sure.
Interesting. I was
just do me a favor. Send it to me after the show so that I can put it in the show notes.
I had pulled it up.
Cool.
Thinking that we might, so I'll just send it to you right now. But
okay.
Basically, this is really interesting and it's worth a watch for anyone who wants to check this out afterwards. Do you know KJH, the Smash Pro? He's like not a top guy, so I don't know if you are familiar with him. KJH is like a floating around top 20 level Melee Pro. He's been sponsored by a number of smaller organizations, most recently one called Halo Klein Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
But recently he announced that he's going to be taking a hiatus from competition this year because it's not a sustainable career to be a top guy who isn't like one of those top personalities like Mango, Hungry Bucks, etc. In this clip, he was streaming with a friend and he broke down the exact kind of the numbers. He said Halo Klein would pay for his flights and his housing at big events, and then they would give him $450 a month. And he said that if he went to a major tournament, he would invariably lose money. Even though his flight was being covered and his housing was being covered, the other expenses that he accrued over the course of the weekend, plus, I mean, literally no prize money. Like, this guy could get top 16 in a major. He's not going to get top 8 at, like, 90% of major tournaments he goes to. So he's making zero money, like you said. So, like, effectively, he's making less than $450 a month because he's actually losing money at every tournament he goes to. So it's just literally not sustainable. Tournaments become like financial gambles for these people every time they go because they just can't reasonably expect to make any money at them. So I don't know. It's better to just watch the clip than hear me describe it, but it's pretty damning to hear someone who, for the last couple of years, he has seemed like he is at the cusp of breaking into the highest echelon of Melee. Like, he's always that guy who's very close to beating the gods. He gets those big wins just outside top 8 at tournaments. And I mean, it literally was creating debt for him to succeed at this level.
I mean,
so it's depressing.
I mean, you know what this makes me think of is Magic the Gathering. I don't know if you're familiar at all with the Magic the Gathering competitive scene.
A little bit, but not. I mean, just you have to fill me in on whatever.
So very similarly, we have a price structure where the top 8 pays fairly well, and for a lot of events, we pay out at least to the top 32, sometimes the top 64, but then we're talking about like a couple $100 to $50, depending on like what the event is. So something like a Magic Fest will pay, I think it's like roughly like, I want to say $100 to top 64, and like $200 to top 32, and then, top 8, actually making some amount of reasonable money. But what was really interesting is, like a lot of these games, they use the Pro Tour, right, as their way of promoting their game. So Magic, how do you get people to buy cards, buy packs, right? Well, look at these pros. Like, look at them winning this money and the trophy. Like, play competitively, and it's super cool, right? Well, a pro penned an article and didn't release it under his own name or her own name, and sort of elaborated on what being a pro player was like. And this was probably one of the most depressing things I had ever read. Now, I'd known about like how bad it was for pros because like I used to be a Magic judge, and those type of things come up because I spent a lot of my adult life in abject poverty. So talking about those things is like super familiar to me. But he was like, "Hey, I have a refrigerator filled of condiments because like my money has to be spent on some amount of cards and getting from event to event. And if I don't cash at the event, then like how do I pay rent? And the big difference between, you know, Magic and the rest of esports, and it's getting better, is that like at least you guys have real sponsorships. Like until very recently, with the introduction of Magic Arena and like Wizards change to the pro structure of Magic the Gathering, you could be a top level pro, but maybe be pulling in less than a retail worker a year, while also traveling the world, right?
And the thing is, you're not building up any like long term
Well,
prospect. I mean,
yeah.
you're building some skills, I guess. I mean, you could argue, but yeah, I mean, at the end of that, you know, I mean, these pros are typically in their 20s, but you know, at a certain point, you're pushing 30, and it's like,
well, Magic trends a little bit older than the rest of esports.
True. What's interesting too is that Magic is like this, despite the fact that it has that support from like a big corporation. In this case, Hasbro. Is Hasbro like the top?
So Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and that has been both beneficial and not to Magic esports. Well, professional Magic. But yes, there is the big Hasbro money, and that's why something like a GP, which would be a major, versus a Pro Tour event, which would be, you know, a premier. And then, you know, there are other tournaments throughout the year that you can go to, and those are kind of regional level or ranking level, depending on, like, what fighting game you follow. But, yeah, I mean, across the board, if you're not playing a Tier 1 esport, you're probably poverty level. Like, you're probably not... Like, yeah, of course, we have the pros, right? Like, Leffen's not poverty level, you know?
Right, I think Leffen might have just bought an apartment. Like, yeah.
Right, so, like, there's definitely... So, like, because I always need to, like... I always feel the need to preface this, because you'll always get somebody who discovers this and goes, Leffen's not in poverty, or there's no way Mango's in poverty. Right. And it's like,
but they're literally
yes.
Like 10. They're literally 10 or maybe 15 people who can even vaguely support themselves.
Yeah, and so, and it's true for a lot of fighting games. Like, a lot of dudes rely on, like you said, that stream revenue, coaching, YouTube, independent sponsors, or they just don't. Like, you know, in Street Fighter, right, we had the IDOM story, right? IDOM, you know, stoop kid, finally gets off his stoop, travels around the U.S., wins the Capcom Cup. That's sick, right? But, like, IDOM is unsponsored. IDOM had to pay for that stuff. Here's a more, like, well-known to people who don't follow Street Fighter is, I think everyone knows the L.I. Joe story, because that was the first year ESPN covered EVO, and, you know, the Street Fighter Finals was on ESPN proper. You know, everyone knows about L.I. Joe. L.I. Joe, not a sponsored player, right? A little bit shocking. Whatever, sure, fine. Dude works 60 hours a week as a manager at a furniture store. Right? Like, these people who we think of as these, like, big-name pros, if you're not sponsored, you're working. Right? Like, it shocks people when I tell them, oh, this guy works a 9 to 5. And they're like, but he's got a sponsor. And it's like, I don't know if you know what the word sponsor means. But sponsor does not mean full-time. Sponsor does not mean sitting pretty. And, like, sure, that, like, and like I said, there's probably, I would say there's maybe roughly more so than Smash, but at least in Street Fighter, I would say that there's at least like 100 players in the world who, based on their sponsor, they're like fine. They've got rent covered, they afford food, they're set. But there's still the rest of us.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that begs the question, what's the end game? I mean, it doesn't feel sustainable for only 100 people to be able to live off of something that is trying to be an industry that employs, I think, far more than that. Um, I think there has to be some kind of restructure. I'm not going to be the guy who has all the answers, but it just doesn't seem sustainable.
So I think one of the things, and I think that this is where both of our experiences, I think, overlap to an extent, is that both of these scenes, fighting games, so, the more traditional fighting games, and Smash, there is this sort of push and pull, right, between the grassroots and the sort of professionalism, eSports sort of version, right? And so there's this weird tug of war where we do want to see our pros get paid, right? Now, you and me, we could enter an event because that's the FGC dream, right? That's the dream, is that if we work hard, we could go to a tournament and we can be the next Tweak. We can be the next Knuckle Do, right? We can be the right? And so there's that's one of the things, right? Is that we're invested because what if we finally, get good, right? That's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is that if you're rooting for somebody, right? If you're rooting for Tweak, if you're rooting for Knuckle Do, if you're rooting for, Wizzy, right? Is that you want these guys to not be struggling, right? You want them to live that pro player life that you think that they're supposed to be living.
For sure.
But on the other side, how do you make that happen, right? That's the thing that I think is it's very difficult to figure out, because it's not like we're pulling in these sponsors. There is no game that is really pulling in these big sponsor names. The Capcom Pro Tour, we're sponsored by Vitrix, and I think just Vitrix. I think it's Vitrix, Twitch, Capcom.
Shine 2018 was sponsored by Geico. I'll hold that for the rest of my life.
But let's be real. That was the Geico gaming division.
Yeah.
Which probably has the same budget that that Vitrix has, right? This isn't. So what I think a lot of people don't understand, and I think this has become sort of super painfully obvious for me over the years, is that people will see an event and they'll see this row of sponsors, right? Red Bull Gaming, Geico, HyperX, Logitech, and they're like, yo, this event's rolling in the money. And what they don't seem to understand is that that Vitrix sponsorship, that's why all the stations have headsets.
Yep.
Right? There might be some money from Vitrix, but it's for all the headsets. Gaming Generations? No. Gaming Generations isn't paying out. The TOs are paying Gaming Generations for all the equipment.
Yeah, I love it when people think that Gaming Generations is a sponsor.
Yeah, they're but they're on their logo. It's there. No. That's to make sure that Gaming Generations doesn't just F off one day.
Yeah, the scene needs those guys. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and
so
no one talks about it, but that's a whole other.
That's a whole other story. But so I think what's weird. I think one of the things is I would love a TO one day, and I think it's gonna be somebody like Hondo, right? Guy who runs Combo Breaker, to just sit down one day and be like, all right, guys, this is what an event looks like and costs. This is how much the venue costed us. This is how much all the gear. This is how much the staffing cost us. This is how much our commentators costed us. And that's how your venue and tournament fee is getting segmented. And I think until something like that happens, you're going to have this sort of push and pull between the casual fans and the 0-2 warriors and the guy who only makes it out of first pool, and actually being the reason why these scenes are organically uplifted to a sustainable way. Because you were right at the beginning of the show. There is no reason why we cannot crowdfund our prize pools. There are 14,000 people watching a Smash event at any given time. Maybe more. I'm going at the super...
Imagine if they put $1 in.
But that's the thing, right? Like, just imagine the Genesis prize pool as it is, right? 16.8K, right? And then let's go with median concurrent. We're not talking about peak, median. So let's say generously, like I'm probably lowballing. Let's say median concurrent is like 20K for the weekend. Imagine if 10% of that, right? 10% of that paid $2 for some cool thing that they got.
Right, they get some. I'm saying, I mean, I think Twitch needs to implement something. Like, you
have game drops, right? Well, there's like game drops and stuff from Twitch or whatever.
I think Matcherino is probably the closest thing to that you're describing, like in reality, right?
Yeah.
But if that was built into Twitch and there was something that tournament organizers could do to like reward people who contributed in some way, like you said, I mean, I don't know, give them a fucking unique emote. People will spend way more money than they need to on a cool looking Twitch emote. I don't know. It's all very theoretical, but I just think there needs to be more.
No, and I agree with you.
More efforts to take advantage of the massive spectator base that exists.
Yeah, because the thing is they always tell you like you should only expect 10% of your viewer base to want to financially support you in some way.
Is that really like a thing that is said?
Yeah, it's like you're like. I'm like living proof. Like 10% of my followers is like what I have in like Patreon subs. Like I'm close to 100. I've over 2K. But like it's not fully 10%, but it's like roughly between like my coffee drops and things like that. Yeah, it comes out to like 10% of my viewer base supports me in some financial way. So like in that world, it's just baffling to me that we haven't, and I don't know if it's because, like, no one's really sat down and tried to figure it out. I know that for some of these TOs, like, they don't have a big team behind them, so it takes all of their bandwidth to plan an event, run it, break it down, and then start planning the next one, right? And so they don't have the bandwidth, I think, a lot of these TOs. Because there are also people that aren't sitting pretty, right? We think that they must be raking in money because, you know, it's Combo Breaker, it's Genesis, it's CEO. But that's not necessarily true. I'll go back to Magic for an example. Somebody once asked one of the top TOs in Magic in the Northeast, how do you make money running an event? And he said, if you want to make money running an event, you don't run one.
Damn. Sad but true.
And that opened my eye because I was kind of like, oh man, I want to know the answer to this question too. And he was like, you don't run one. He's like, I don't make money on the event. He's like, maybe I break $1,000 at the end of the day.
I mean, you look at the big FGC TOs, like Big E,
mm-hmm.
you know, runs like NEC, one of the most well-known FGC tournaments, is I believe like a bartender or something.
Yeah.
Full time. Jabali, CEO, does not make Jabali money. What makes Jabali money is then using the renown that he's developed as a TO and contracting himself out to like the DreamHack events.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I think what needs to happen is somebody, and not us, because I have a life and you have a life, but I think the community. That's why I really do feel that this is something that won't get solved until a bunch of people just like pull back the curtain, and they're like, mm-hmm. This is what our lives look like. And because that's what happened in Magic. A Magic Pro pulled back the curtain, showed everybody how shitty being a Magic Pro was, and all the fans were like, wait, what? And like really rallied behind the pro community and was like, Watsy, y'all gotta fix this shit. And like, it's not great, but it is definitely better than it was like the 10 years ago or something that somebody wrote that article. And I think that until we have that moment in the FGC and Smash where like some pros and some TOs come out and they're like, this is like the dog and pony show, like this is how it all works. and it's only gonna get, like, we only have two ways of making it better: esports, which y'all apparently don't want us to fucking do, and you guys don't seem to feel the need to put your own money into it. Well, then, like, one of those things has to happen, because, like, we're floundering here, right? Like, you know, people are getting mad that all of these events are starting to become like $100 to go to, and it's like, well, where do you think the money comes from? Like,
Yep.
like, it's something Logan said in his episode, which was season 1, episode 3, of like, where does the money come from? Like, people always want the broadcast to get better, and they're like, well, where are we supposed to fund a better broadcast? Like, where fans do you think that money is just going to appear from to make these improvements? And I think that, like, you and I can talk about, like, how do we pull in better endemic and non-endemic sponsors, and how do we show the value. But I think realistically, the only way that these scenes become sustainable, and the only reason these scenes have been sustainable, is because of the fans. But I think there needs to be sort of a water break moment to an extent to really, and it happened for Tekken, right? Q-Dan said that he was gonna quit. The guy literally had just won the Tekken World Tour, and he was like, I'm gonna quit being a pro player. And all the fans were like, wait, what? And then Harada took over, like, Bamco eSports, and, like, things got better-ish. Like, they're definitely not Capcom Pro Tour level of better, but they are progressively getting better. And it was because you had a top-tier pro who literally just won your event saying he was going to quit because everything sucked. And that was like the floodgate moment where, like, the FGC was like, whoa, wait, what? Nah, fuck this, man. Like, Bamco, get your shit together. And then Bamco was like, oh, fuck, Harada, you're now the head of esports.
Yeah, I mean, and the problem is, like, I just don't know if Smash is going to have that watershed moment. I don't foresee, I mean, like I said, this player KJH basically made that statement, and it didn't really make a splash. And the bigger guys, I think this is specifically because the top level pros in Smash, as you pointed out, have these, like, tier 1 organization sponsorships and are just afraid to lose them. So they're just not going to speak out about how hard it is, because they want to preserve the facade, or, like, the image that they are, you know, rich celebrities, and not, like, struggling to pay rent every month.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you're absolutely right. I'm a little cynical about it happening in Smash this year, but I'd love to see it.
Oh, I don't think it's gonna happen this year. I would be, I think it will take, and I know that, like, when we say, I think that people don't understand what a lot of people in our position mean when we say that the esports bubble might pop. They think, like, .com bubble, where, like, all the money just vanishes and everything just, like, resets to zero and everything gets super shitty. No, that's not what we mean by the esports bubble is going to pop, because there's too much money that sort of has propped everything up that, like, nothing is just going to, like, fail and disappear unless you're H1Z1. What we mean by the esports bubble is going to pop is that no new money is going to come in, and you're going to see shrinkage. Yeah. And I think it's going to take the FGC esports bubble to pop and a watershed moment before I think a lot of the fans really understand, like, how, I don't want to say bad, because, like, it's not bad, but, like, how not sustainable and not great things are. I think it's going to take something, I think it's going to take one of those two elements. And I'm gonna be honest, I foresee the FGC ecosystem shrinking, you know, in, like, the next 5 years or something, unless, you know, something massively changes, is gonna happen first before a bunch of pros or TOs, you know, do this sort of, like, curtain peel back. And it's unfortunate, because I love fighting games. Like, fighting games is why I love esports. Like, I wasn't a CS, like I said, wasn't a CSGO person, didn't play Dota, didn't play Warcraft. You know, I didn't play those games because I didn't always have access to my computer. So what was the game I was playing all the time? I was playing Soul Calibur 3. all day, every day. I was playing Third Strike. I was playing Alpha 2. Like, that was like my thing. And so when I found that like there it was like I was like, you know, I was competitive. I would compete in local tournaments and stuff, not locals, but like I would like hear like, oh man, this arcade is doing like a King of the Hill thing or something. And then I discovered Evo and all of that stuff and NOBC. But like I just don't see how it gets better. And I thought like, oh man, I'll have Alex Lee. He's a smart guy. Come onto the show and like we'll talk about this for an hour. And somehow, like, with our brains being rubbed together, like, lightning would come down and we could end this episode with, like, this is the genius, like, $1 million plan. And
how did we not come up with a plan?
I mean, we kind of did by saying that we make Maturino better.
Yeah.
But, like...
And I think that one simple change would be huge.
But I think that's like the idea that everybody has, and everybody's like, man, I really wish that like we could like every TO right is like, oh man, if our Maturino like just had like $1 per viewer, right, we could pay out to like top 64. Like you got these events with like 300 entrants, and you know only like 8 people are getting paid, and it's like. So, like, like I said, I know that there are TOs that literally look at their, like, they, like, go talk to, like, the stream teams that are, like, helping run the streams for each, and they're like, how many people are watching Tekken right now? And they're like, oh, man, like, 15,000, and they're like, man, if only 15,000 people gave 50 cents. If only. Right? If only 15,000 people gave a penny. Like, things would be markedly better. Right? Even just a penny.
Honestly, maybe that's the secret. We create a version of Maturino that prompts the person to donate 1 penny. Literally, everyone will do
a bit.
No one will say no to that.
Right? Like, and you're right. Maybe it does take, like, a Twitch integration thing where it's like, you donate a bit. And, like... Sure. Because, I mean, I'm a shitty streamer, and I get, like, at least 1 bit a stream. I get a penny a stream. Like, imagine if I had the same viewers that a Tekken event had, and like, 40% of them gave me a penny. I'll take that. That gives, you know what? That gives 9th place prize money. Right? Like, if 15,000 people, everybody gave a penny, that guy who, like...
Seriously...
barely missed out on top 8. He gets to go home with like $100. I'm okay with that. Like that's
I'm on board.
That I mean, like I guess that was the rub our brains together. But like, hopefully, people who watch this episode, because I'm gonna try to get it out there. I'm gonna be trying to promote this one a little bit more than I've been promoting the other ones. I've been, I took a break from super promoting because I wanted to see what would happen organically. But like. People are going to be like, wow, you guys talked about this, and I feel like these are the arguments that we always hear, and, there wasn't a solution, because the solution isn't going to come from, like, me and Alex, right? Like, I donate to Maturino. Like, I do the tweet, wow. I do the tweet to get, the free points and blah, 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 and, to, add the couple of cents to the prize pool. I do that for any event that I watch. So when I watch NLBC, I do the NLBC Maturino. But you probably support your Smash scene in your way too, right? But like we're not gonna be weak. We're not gonna be the instrument of change. Y'all don't care enough. Like it's gonna have to be you guys, you the viewers, the viewers of the big streams. Like you guys gotta figure out at what point. Like it's not like Maturino doesn't exist. It's not like it's like the like best kept secret in fighting games, right? Everybody knows what Maturino is. The fact that, like, none of y'all give, like, a quarter to match to every tournament you watch. Like, maybe $1 too aggressive for you, so I'm gonna say a quarter to every tournament you watched. Do you know how, like, much better the ecosystem would be?
I think about this so much. But you're right. You're right, Amanda. It's not going to come from us. we can just sit here and play our fiddles while Rome burns.
Yeah.
Or, try to get people's attention at least. But, hey, you know what? That's what we're doing right now. So,
yeah. So before we leave, it's a big weekend for Smash.
It is.
Y'all have Evo Japan and Genesis.
Yeah,
y'all have like 6,000 competitors between 2 tournaments.
Yeah, so the PGR ranks its tournaments on like a tier ranking system to determine how much each one is worth, with the top ranking being S tier. Both Evo Japan and Genesis are S tier tournaments happening at the same time. This has never happened before for Smash Ultimate. So, yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm pretty much gonna be.
Are you gonna be dual screening?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be hardcore DJing, sitting in my boxers all weekend, watching streams on every surface in my apartment. Might even try to get like my smart fridge to play the stream. Just kidding, I don't have a smart fridge. That would be crazy if I did. But if I did,
I feel like that was the quickest recover I've ever heard in my life. I'm gonna watch things on my smart fridge. Wait, I just said I don't donate to Matcherino. I don't have a smart fridge. I'm just speaking hypothetically.
I don't donate to Matcherino. That's true. Although I do subscribe to a few Smash players. So.
Okay. I'm just saying, this dude's like, I don't do Matcherino, but like I can have a smart fridge. That's why he has a smart fridge though.
Hold on, I gotta save my rep here. Viewers, I really don't have a smart fridge. I would love to have one. I'm not judging people who have
Viewers, when I go to New York City the next time, I will stop by Alex's apartment and I will take pictures of the smart fridge and call him out as a fraud.
No, you can come to my apartment. I will cook you a delicious dinner, and you will then take a picture of yourself in front of my normal fridge to clear my name. But seriously, you are welcome to come over for dinner anytime you're here.
Yep. So I'll ask you the super hard question: who wins Evo Japan? Well, I'm actually not gonna ask you Evo Japan because like there's only like I think there's 0 non-Japanese pros at Evo Japan because Genesis is the same weekend.
Yeah, I think Genesis kind of won out in the battle.
So Genesis, who's winning Smash Ultimate? Putting a gun to your head, no top 8, one person. Who is it?
If there's a gun to my head, I'm picking MK Leo 100% of the time. The kid is nasty. He's definitely not invincible, but if there's a gun to my head, he's my best choice.
Okay, who's your dark horse?
Dark horse? Samsora, honestly.
Man, don't make me root for Samsora more.
Samsora. I mean, everyone loves Samsora. I think 2020 could be the year that Samsora becomes the best player in the world. I'm just putting that out there.
That's spicy.
Mango is winning Melee. I'm just putting that out here right now.
Wait, Mango wins tournaments?
Mango won the last 2 majors.
Oh wow!
Smash. So he actually has probably the most. So it's not even really a hot take.
See, my Smash friends, y'all are slacking on me because y'all have led me to believe that Mango is washed.
He was. He became unwashed this year, but like all last year was a year of insane washingness for Mango. So you're not that out of date.
Okay. All right. Well, Alex, how can people find you on the interwebs?
Follow me on Twitter at AlexLeeWasTaken. And that's pretty much it.
Where are you writing at lately? If you guys want to see some dope Smash articles, you can read them at...
I've been writing weekly Smash recaps, all the news in the scene worth writing for GG Intel. And I have some exciting... I don't know if I should talk about this, but I have an exciting new report coming up on just like the state of freelancing in esports more broadly. So that's... But, follow me on Twitter, and then you'll see. You'll all see.
And you guys, if you're already at the show, you already know how to find me. We'll go back to that single player screen one more time just so that you guys can see it all. Guys saw it? Guys, screen cap it. We're going to go back to Alex. Thanks for being on the show. Until next time, go beyond, plus ultra, and peace.
Peace out, y'all.